Right, a very warm welcome back. We're in Cape Town today, and this is the venue for the latest in the series of New Age business briefings brought to you by the SABC, and today very kindly sponsored by 49M, who's managed to keep the lights on now for, I think, we're close on to 19 days, is that correct? Mm-hmm. So great news, and that means you're playing your part at home in switching off all the appliances that you don't need to be using. Please don't stop doing that, and then we'll continue to have these load-shedding free days. But the focus of our conversation today is the National Council of Provinces. They're in session at the moment, and the big issue for them is local government. And so we have the South African Local Government Association with us as well, and we're having a conversation a little bit about this journey, 15 years that's been in the making, progress made, challenges still to be overcome, and progress that's been happening. But we want you to be part of that conversation at Morning Live SABC. That's our Twitter handle. And let's go back then to our panel, but I'd like to introduce our guests in our audience straight away, actually. And I want to start with Kathy Dlamini, who's on table number 2, I think. If you could get a microphone, and we'll get your question. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Peter. My greetings to the panel members and the viewers at home. My question is directed to Salga. As local municipalities are water services authority, I just want to check how far have you gone in the provision of water in the past 15 years, as we know that before 1994, clean water was only provided to the selected few. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. So, I don't know which one of you want to pick that up. Mr. George, you've been nominated.
No, thank you very much, Peter. I think all of us would know that indeed, prior to 1994, service delivery in our country was offered on the basis of race, as well as on the basis of those communities that were referred to as marginalized. And we still have many South Africans that still do not receive these services. And when you look at the undertaking made in terms of the reconstruction and development program that was approved in 1995, much has to be celebrated. Today we speak of communities in our country that have access to more than 92% of access to clean drinking water. And that happens right across all communities. And that's not a small gain made, because you'll remember many of our communities were unable to access clean drinking water and would share facilities with animals. And we still have many of our people that wake up every day, have to walk no less than 10 kilometers for a child before they go to school to fetch water, even to wash and eat during the day. So our government is very committed to ensuring that the universal access to water and sanitation remains a dream that is realized. And I think as a country we have made huge progress, even on the very first commitment through what is normally referred to as Millennium Development Goals. As a country now, we're entering a new phase that by 2030, South Africa is aspiring to ensure that there's universal access to water, there's universal access to sanitation, decent sanitation. There's universal access to electricity and roads infrastructure and decent housing facility. And I think the point we're making all, that as local government, we remain at the epicenter of realizing those goals. Mm-hmm. It calls for much more greater strength and collaboration by three spheres and local government taking a leading role to ensure that our people realize these aspirations.
All right, so progress being made, and I guess question on some people's minds might be pace, but let's go to Tony Ehrenreich, who will perhaps set this question in another way. Thank you, Tony.
Thank you very much and good morning. The question that I have links onto the answer that was given previously, and it goes to how do we audit what the performances are of local government relative to the ability of local government. An example is probably best illustrated in the city of Cape Town. The city of Cape Town gets clean audits every year, But if we just take 3 of the top line items that the city has spent money on this year, the Cape Town Cup, where 30 million rand was clearly wasted as indicated by all public newspapers, the 40 million rand of the World Design Capital, and then a 50 million rand advertising budget just to promote the political agenda we sometimes feel. But this is more than 100 million rand that's clearly not directed at where the most urgent needs are in the society. But in spite of that, the Auditor General, and we think because of the absence of clear guidelines from SALGA, gives the city a clear audit report. We'd like to see the performance of the city also being evaluated in respect of the delivery, not in the fancy nice-to-haves, but in the delivery of actual basic services. That 40 million rand, for example, could have doubled the rollout of basic services to backyard communities that we presently committed to in the city of Cape Town. So we'd like to hear what is going to be done about increasing the criteria for the evaluation of the Auditor General so that we focus on service delivery and not only on ticking the boxes, because on the Cape Town Cup, for example, they'd get a clean audit because they would have followed all of the procedures. But clearly it can't be correct that 30 million rand is thrown down the drain when there's such a desperate need. So I'd like to have a sense of that from SALGA. Thank you.
Okay, so if I get this question correctly, I think there's a difference between compliance and delivery. And so maybe the Auditor General must do what he does in terms of measuring compliance, but for people's lives to change, delivery, real delivery, and that's not something you can measure by just ticking off boxes. So what is SALGA doing to make sure that we go beyond compliance?
Thanks,
Yeah.
Peter. Thanks to the community at large there. Yes, it is true. Sometimes the Auditor General would find that the municipality is safe, it's sound, it's financially stable. But the main question is, what about the citizens? What we are introducing now as SALGA, it's what we call a citizen survey, where we are saying municipalities also must find a way of surveying in their areas, particularly citizen satisfaction. To which degree are people also happy? Because at the end of the day, it's not only about the Auditor General, it is about your citizens. But I must indicate, it depends also on the leadership of a particular municipality, because municipalities are having service delivery plans. And it is there where you need to prioritize. What really are your priorities? Is it marketing yourself or the municipality? Or is it first providing the basic services? And if council has approved those plans, which we call now SDBIPs, then you are measured on those. But I think the main thing is the issue of visionary leadership to deal with these issues, so that at the end of the day, it's not only about the Auditor General being happy, but also about your citizens, your municipal citizens also feeling that at least the leadership there is trying to change their lives for better, of course. It's trying to make sure that it prioritizes issues that are coming from them through our IDPs. So that is quite important to basically look into what people are saying and how far are you moving in that regard.
All right, so, okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, I'd like to pose a question to SALGA as well, is, you know, when your colleagues are not performing and they're not doing well, is there remedial action or even punishment for delinquent leadership, delinquent municipalities? Because at the end of the day, the people are not being served. We'll get an answer to that after this.